Only can laughter. Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is up, Chip? It's been a long time since I saw you, at least 24, 48 hours. Today, XRP clawing its way back to the top of the food chain. 80 cents, $1 on the horizon. Who knows? It's getting good. The whole crypto space heating up. Bitcoin at $45,000. But Ripple and XRP and many of the other crypto assets in this space are revolutionizing money and changing the way all of payments are orchestrated across the entire spectrum. What do you think of that, Chip?
I think it's exciting, Jeff. And the quicker we get started, the quicker we get going.
Welcome to On the Chain.
What's up, man? Chip, what a great day today. Tell you what, right before this, I was watching the IndyCar series. Man, IndyCar started at 5:30. Real exciting. My son's birthday party today. And man, happy birthday to Aaron if he's watching. But man, I'll tell you what, lots of great things. He probably isn't. He'll come in at some point and say, "What's my login again?" I'll be like, "Hey, I'm in the middle of a live stream." He'll be like, "Oh, that's all right.
Gaming's more important."
That's right. So, man, Paul Murray, good morning to you too. But Chip, I'll tell you what, with all of the chaos that's been orchestrating and fermenting in this whole infrastructure bill, whether cramming in some probably the most critical legislation of all time when it comes to financials with this whole brand new asset class, and they want to cram it in at the last second. And that's crazy fools, enough, Jeff. Man.
They're fools.
I like that. I like that.
Hey, before we get started, I just want to do a big shout out to Permission.io. Permission.io, the sponsor of today's video. And the best way I could describe them is the easiest way to earn crypto, ask token, ASK. And the easiest way to do it is do what you always do. You choose how you want to share your data instead of the big boys and big tech earning off of your back. This way you get to earn. Easiest way. You just sit there, you look at, they might serve up a video, they might serve up something, but once you go and when you actually go to the page, Jeff, you can drop that page for them. It's in the link there, but you drop it. There's a special page you go to, you get some bonus ask, and you get it, ask permission. So they're asking permission. You're volunteering what you want to go ahead and share. And when they serve up something, you get a token. And this is a great way to introduce people to crypto because they're like, what's crypto? How do I do it? How much does it cost? What's it worth? Well, how about this? How about you do what you always did, surf the web like you always do, and then you get to earn crypto. It's the easiest way to get started.
I like that. I like
there you go.
Man, earning the ass token. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, check this out. Check out this cool link. Boom, there you go. Right there. Threw it out there. So Chip, we've talked about this. You know, everybody knows. You know, Ripple is modernizing the payment infrastructure. They're doing something that very few have done in the past. Now, consider that they were really one of the first in the space, probably orchestrating something like this. But I'll tell you what, I saw this cool article. I have to pull it up. I have to share it. It was on American Banker, but I love this title, Chip. Ripple's blueprint to modernize Europe's payment infrastructure. Now, we know Europe's payments infrastructure, they seem to be a little bit more advanced with their instant settlements, but Ripple is still over there modernizing what they do. Do you think this is, they're going to go over to Europe, they're going over to Japan, they're in Asia, they're in the Middle East, then they look back home in the US and they're up against all this insane regulatory uncertainty and chaos and politicians that don't know their you-know-what from the hole in the ground. But Chip, what do you think of this? Ripple's blueprint to modernize Europe's payment infrastructure. Exciting or not exciting?
Well, I already think they're already into it. It's not like, hey, here's a blueprint, Jeff. I want to show you exactly what's going to happen down the road. They're already doing it. So title is catchy because it's really a guideline. You want to call it a blueprint. Does anybody know what a blueprint is anymore? I'll be honest with you. There used to be a place where I live in my town. and it was called Boca Blueprint. And I go, at what point is not there anymore, right? I mean, like, I guess you still need blueprints to build buildings and houses, but it's all done electronically now. It's not the old way of doing it, but the sentiment is there, which is having a whole outlying sort of a methodology of how you're going to do it. And I think that's the key thing to keep in mind there, because the cross-border stuff, everything, and we take it for granted, yeah, okay, if you're into XRP, say like, well, yeah, cross-border payments, but it's solid, Jeff. I mean, it's right there, and it's like, oh, yeah, read that. Go ahead and read that. That's solid.
So this is great. And you really have to look at this, and we all know, but if you're brand new to this space and you've never really dug into the payment side, and you're like crypto, but check this out. The challenges with today's underlying payments and banking infrastructure are widespread. Chip, it's not just in the US, not just in Latin America, not in the Middle East, not in Europe, widespread. It's global, right? And they're centered around outdated technology. There's one company, Swift, but Swift isn't a settlement. It's a messaging platform. So then you get into the actual banking infrastructure. How do they communicate with each other? How do they actually settle? Outdated. They're slow to transact, huge fees. And we know, Chip, days. It could be 3 days. It could be 5 days. It could be 7 days to get full settlement, and zero transparency, zero.
It's also error prone, Jeff. Don't forget about the errors. And when you find that out 3 days later, 5 days later, oh, geez, something's wrong. And then, so Swift's big idea, remember they rolled out how they were going to be faster and better and more cheaper and more efficient. Not going to tell you how, but they said they're going to find out up front if instead of waiting 5 days to find out there's a problem. Well, that's cool. Still got to wait 5 days. Like, still not, it's not a great solution, but it's like, I guess that they should have done that 30 years ago. First of all, validate to see if you're going to get, if that's the right place you're sending it. Don't wait 5 days to go like, oops, sorry, I guess we missed that one.
That's it.
So
now, Chip, I think this was a great place to start. Here's where Ripple's going. We know where the crypto space is going. The crypto space is growing regardless of the chaos, because other countries are the benefactors. All of these other people that are investing in the cryptocurrency space are the beneficiaries of the insanity that's going on in the US right now. And I want to juxtapose two different scenarios for you. One is government, the Treasury Secretary. We don't have to go into the White House and the amendment to the infrastructure bill that they all supported that was just more tax and spend. But I want to look at the Treasury Secretary. And then, Chip, I want to pull up a video from Kathy Wood from a couple of days ago where she references crypto and some of the concerns there. I want to talk about this, but I want to bring this up and just face value, right? Just face value commentary on this. Treasury Secretary Yellen privately lobbies against tax amendment crypto industry wants, meaning that she is lobbying against what Toomey was supporting as far as the positive changes for crypto, and backing the Rob Portman, Mark Warner, and Kristen Sinema's competitive amendment, which was destructive to crypto. But yet the Treasury Secretary is backing it. Thoughts, just at face value?
Well, I'm gonna put my thought in one word. It's gonna be called centralization. And here's the thing: centralization. This is what it's all about. They hate you. The government hates you. All governments do. They go like, oh, we really care about the little guy when you're voting for us. Other than that, see you next voting cycle. Centralization is all about control, keeping your thumb on top of somebody, and opening up the censorship whoop ass. Right? They're going to keep you down, keep you small, keep your mouth shut, and talk only when you're spoken to. And decentralization, on the other hand, is freedom. Decentralization is what is going on. That is what's the groundswell. That's what's happening on a global basis. One of the coolest things about crypto, Jeff, that we always talk about is that this is running. You want to say it rippling throughout every country in the world at the exact same time, bringing people together in a massive way. So why wouldn't this nutter right here, who was a horrible when she was at the Fed, even worse at the Treasury? I mean, she's an absolute, utter 100% disaster. And anything she says, I don't care. I really don't. It's like the best thing you'd say about her is ignore.
Ignore. Is there an ignore button?
Rock sizes it up in a nice way. So, but Jeff, hang on a second.
Is there an ignore button? Is there a button that we can press that just says beep?
No.
Like we just bleep out what they say?
No, but before we get to that other stuff, I wanted to piggyback on what you were just talking about, because I think you bringing up the whole European thing is a good thing, because I want to segue here to Cindy Young. Now, Cindy Young is a brand new hire over at Ripple, and she is the managing director over there. You see how she's got that look right there? Like, yeah.
Oh, she's
you don't
serious.
know
Look at that. Oh yeah.
You don't know what I got going on, but I'm gonna be kicking the world's ass pretty soon. But she's like very nonchalant, sort of a glance like that. And so she's the managing director of Ripple. She came from MasterCard. She's a Harvard HBS alumni, and she also went to Brown University, very prestigious universities, right? And so this whole thing, she's thanking Hayden Field for the fun talk on the rise of crypto remittances and Ripple's vision for sending cross-border payments faster and more efficiently. And where do you think that's happening, Jeff? Check this out. Boom. Crypto has a cross-border promise. More and more people are using crypto to send money to family and friends abroad. So it's kind of on point with it's a long article, but I want to go to the interesting bits here, which is Sendy. Here you go, right here. So I want to highlight this right here. Since blockchain-based solutions aim to cut out extra steps involved in sending money back and forth, it can lead to anywhere from a 40% to an 80% in cost reduction. Like that's another problem, Jeff. When you start reducing the cost, people don't like that so much either, right? I mean, as far as companies and governments and everything. Broadbent told us, Holmes said MoneyGram, this is the CEO of MoneyGram, charges an average of 2.9%, which is kind of in line with what credit cards charge. Of the amount sent compared with the World's Bank reported global average of 6.5%. Cindy Young, European lead for Ripple, told us its cost per transaction is 90% less than the status quo for legacy money transfers. Now, if you don't think this is going to be shaking up the world, and you don't think this is going to be the groundbreaking technology, and if you didn't think that the SEC was poking the eyes of Ripple for just no reason at all, why would you, if you're super concerned and put out the first office video, you're like, hey, office hours with Gary Gensler. He wants to talk about his climate risk. He's really worried about climate risk. Meanwhile, Jeff, should we remind him that the #1 token for the cleanest, greenest, and the least offensive for climate risk is the XRP? So these people don't make sense. This is why they're completely out of their lane. This is why the CFTC smacked them down and said, stay in your lane. You'll talk when you're spoken to. And yeah, what else? What did you have to say here?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what the CFTC told the SEC. And point blank, this is exactly what they told.
And you will respect my authority.
Exactly what they said. They said,
exactly what they said.
Yeah, it means, who do you think you are? Where do you think you're going? And enough is enough, right? I mean, my good golly, Miss Amali.
It's just too much. It's too much. Now, I look at Janet Yellen, then I look at those like Elizabeth Warren, and then I look at the White House, and the White House backs the crypto tax amendment that is endorsing proof of work in the infrastructure bill. They hide it behind all this colorful language to make believe they actually understand the crypto space, when it's so obvious that 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a month ago, most of them, they heard Bitcoin and they believed what Janet Yellen and Elizabeth Warren believe, that it's only used for nefarious purposes. And, again, it keeps being regurgitated. But yet in Europe, you see growth. In Asia, you see growth in the direction of some normalcy for regulatory clarity. And we even saw, Chip, Brad Garlinghouse really leveling the thought process on all of this, giving Gensler the smackdown when Gensler came out and was talking about how much clarity there was here in the US. And yet there's still so much uncertainty as we see all these congressional representatives now squabbling, right? They're upholding an infrastructure bill that's $1.3 trillion, 110 billion for infrastructure. Nobody knows where the other 1.2 trillion will be spent, but yet a lot of it was held up over this debate over cryptocurrency. And they're still battling over this. And yet here we see Ripple plodding ahead with great statements coming out of Europe, Chip. I love it. I love seeing the development over in Europe and Asia, and the fact that there's people out there that can comprehend and understand the significance of this brand new asset class. And another one of those is Kathy Woods out of the ARK Investment, which we'll tune into this video here in a minute.
Yeah, very well said, Jeff. I mean, I have not really nothing to add to that. Chris Chambers says over here, hey, lads, what's your thought on the announcement of the federated side chains? What do you think the use case is primarily intended for? CBDCs to launch or take on ETH with NFT adoption? Well, I think the main use case for this is really well, it's kind of twofold, but the federated sidechain, one of the things it does, and this is what David Schwartz explained, that when you have the XRPL, you don't want to be messing with that, right? So you don't want to be changing what that does. The best way to do that is a federated sidechain. That way you can add in DeFi. You can go ahead and add in. Now, in the last Ripple drop, David Schwartz kind of let us in on the fact that they have it set up. The very first thing they're going to do right now is work on a federated sidechain for banks. He said not that they'll use them, although we think they probably will, that this is going to be a good thing. But also the federated sidechain brings some also new developments for developers, but you will have the ability to be able to use it in a DeFi smart contract right off the XRPL. But again, you're not changing what the main functionality XRPL is, and it gives you a way to interface with that. Also gives you interoperability, gives you low cost, all those things, cost and speed and liquidity built into it. Now, this is something very lacking on Ethereum. You know, I don't know if it's lacking necessarily, but I think that, Jeff, what are your thoughts about the federated sidechains? I mean, do you see them? I mean, they obviously stated they were looking in the CBDCs for the first sort of use case.
Yeah, I like the idea. I like to be able to create the private side chains, you know, and if you look at these CBDCs, I think that they need a mechanism that's going to allow the CBDCs to be interoperable with all the other CBDCs. So the idea of a central bank digital currency, it makes sense to me from the perspective that a sovereign state will not use a third-party private asset as their sovereign currency. So a CBDC is the answer to the sovereign currency that is centralized and controlled by the sovereign state. That part makes sense to me. But it also becomes isolated in a silo. Now, if through these federated sidechains, if they're allowed to orchestrate and build a CBDC on these side chains, I think it just takes it one step further towards complete interoperability, working within the Ripple framework. So if Ripple is able to develop that, working through the XRP ledger, utilizing the XRP digital asset as a interconnective component between the CBDCs, and also at the same time still facilitating on-demand liquidity,
yeah,
it's going to be critical, I think, Chip, and you brought this up. Last point, I'll put it over to you. But the CBDC is, and the digital currency like a digital yuan or the digital dollar is just a digital representation of what we already have. All they're doing is just saying we no longer have paper and coins. We only have digital, and this is it. And that's it. That's the only difference. Everything else exactly the same, except they have one more level of control over your asset. What do you think?
No, I mean, you nailed it. That's exactly what they have. So there really is no advantage to it. Now, I mean, maybe some accounting, maybe it gives them an opportunity to print even more, but I just pulled this up here. This is the vision for the federated sidechains on the XRP ledger. And I want to come down to, yeah, this is kind of it right here. So you've got one sidechain, federator, XRPL, back and forth. So you can go back and forth, and that's one of the things. But I wanted to go down here to one point here with the advantages. Developers managing a sidechain also have the freedom to decide how the chains work. They choose their own validators for their sidechain. They can also change the system's rules as they need with the cooperation, obviously, the sidechain's validators. For example, a sidechain could operate without transaction fees or reserve requirements. It could operate without its own copy of the XRP ledger's decentralized exchange, or it could add a new transaction type and functionality for storing large chunks of data on ledger. The point here is the possibilities really are endless, and that's one of the things that it brings, is that it really lives in the minds of developers and how they want to approach it. And you could even run a side chain temporarily while letting it manage real value and gracefully shut it down after it's had that purpose, like in a smart contract. You spin up a side chain, you know, once that's executed, boom, you can shut it back down. So it really, what it's going to do is it's going to really, I think it takes it to a whole new level. You know, low risk, low effort. They do have to make some changes though to the XRP ledger. It wouldn't be used on the XRPL itself, but in order to support the sidechain features, the primary chains of the software would have to support this, the UNL, which is the unique node list being stored on the ledger. So, but yeah, I think there's just kind of like to sum that up, Chris, good things are coming. And I think this is going to just expand the universe even more. And I think smart contracts working out there is going to be great. How's your headphone there, Jeff? Okay, everything good?
It's good. It was falling out, the little earpiece. It was falling on my ear.
I hate when that happens. So it's never a good thing. But yeah,
and then I'll just be left with the earpiece and nothing else.
So Jeff, you know, Warner.
Just a quick shout out to Christina Johnson. She said, "Hello, I'm late."
That's
Damn
okay.
it.
We'll let it slide this time.
Good thing you made it. Yeah, just sit in the back row, and then no one will know you're walking late.
Don't we make a lot of noise, dropping things always, banging stuff. You know, you got your laptop and you're hitting people in the head as you're like walking by. You know, you got to be careful. Just relax.
You walk into the room late and you walk right to the front row and take out your bags and your coffee and you get the styrofoam sound.
You know, and everyone's like, "Oh God," you know, make a big scene. So I saw this video floating around the internet. Check out this: Mark Warner, Jay Clayton from a previous moment in time. Let's take a look at this.
We've got this. We're focused on a lot on Bitcoin and crypto assets, cryptocurrencies, and I think there's even definitional issues here. But you've got a whole new platform called Ethereum where they're creating, file sharing or extra computer time. I'm not sure what kind of assets those fall into. Are they potentially regulated within your realm, or if there is a trading exchange, a tokenization exchange between excess computer time? I'm not sure where that fits.
Okay, so this is Mark Warner, and he's asking the question of our former lovely chairperson, which was Jay Clayton, formerly of the SEC. So let's listen in.
At this point, the definition of a security, I believe, the people who wrote the 34 Act and the 33 Act, they were smart. They did it on a principled basis, and they basically said, if you're giving people money in exchange for a future development of a business with the hope of a return, and whether that return comes in the form of server time or your ability to sell server time, it's a security.
But there are been, and I concur with the approach you've taken in terms of the ICOs, and I think there's been some very bad behavior. Yet certain ICOs, the SEC has not stopped, others they have stopped. And are you going to go back and re-review the ones that have gone forward?
Let me say another thing about the 33 and 34 Act. When they were written, there was a great recognition that there was a tremendous amount of securities activity in this country, and that we were going to rely on gatekeepers to help us enforce those, and liability to help us enforce those rules. Accountants, lawyers, underwriters, sellers, and the like. I'm counting on those people to do their job, and I've made that clear.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Jeff?
He said a couple different things that kind of conflict. But one of the things he keeps referencing, the 33, 34, that they understood the securities. He didn't answer the question.
Not at all. You notice he just dodged it?
He definitely dodged it, but look at the very last part of it. I think is the most important. All telling of his whole statement was at the very, very end. I don't know if you can pull that part up.
The enforcement part, right?
Just the very, very last 5 seconds.
All right, let's put it back up here.
My friend from Louisiana.
Let's see.
Underwriters, sellers, and the like. I'm counting on those people to do their job, and I've made that clear.
That's it. So he's expecting that there's certain elements, within the space, right, within their department or otherwise, that will do their jobs to understand, I think, how to identify whether or not it's a security or not. That's how I kind of read out the last part of it. that they're identifying and analyzing each one of these companies, but he still didn't answer anything. And the reason why I believe he wasn't able to answer it is because it's vague. There's no clarity. He didn't understand it. Nobody understood it, because if he had full clarity and he truly understood it, he would come out with a very succinct answer. Where at the same time, the SEC during that period of time was dragging their feet, I think, and I believe, waiting for Congress to react, which is exactly why Gensler, when he was interviewed before he took over his chair, came out and he said that he believes that getting any kind of clarity has to go through Congress. It has to be a congressional act, which is exactly why Gensler now is asking Congress to give the SEC more power, because Gensler comes in, realizes this does not fall under the purveyorship of the SEC. They do not have the power nor the capacity to oversee the crypto space right now. The CFTC and the chairperson from the CFTC was spot on when he said, stay in your lane. Digital assets, in his belief, fall under as a commodity. Others believe it's a complete new asset class and doesn't necessarily fall under either parties. But if it's going to fall anywhere, maybe it is closer to the CFTC than it is the SEC. Yet there are going to be some companies that will do, let's say, an ICO, or will do something that is very clear based on the Howey test, or maybe some future Ripple test, that it is a security. But overall, the digital assets themselves, can the digital asset itself be a security? Or could it then have been sold as a security? Either it's a currency or it's not. It's a commodity or it's not. Is it a token representation of a stock certificate, which would then be a security? And if it's that, then it's under the SEC. But if it's not, then it isn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty clear, but yet the understanding of how you get to that, I don't think anybody understands. Nobody knows at this point. There is no clarity.
The problem they're having is unwrapping the whole idea of where they were in 1933, 1934, because the whole idea of purchasing stock in a company, yeah, you give somebody money with the hope or that at some point they're going to make good a company. Okay, here's the problem with why that doesn't work in the crypto world, is because a company like Ripple or any other project out there, you've got the founding team, a foundation like the Stellar Foundation, they're doing something. The digital asset is decentralized. So unless you're investing in the organization itself with the hope or promise that there's going to be an increase in value, that's not a security. That's a security. But if you are investing, like the whole idea of XRP, when you've been invested in XRP, it had nothing to do with the company Ripple whatsoever. I mean, yeah, they minted it, they released it, it's out in the wild. They built software solutions for cross-border remittances and on-demand liquidity is their product. But in the grand scheme of things, they're having a very difficult time trying to fit this round peg in a square hole. They're trying to figure out how it works. They can't get it quite in there, but they go like, you see, that's what they said. There's a promise. And that's the thing with the Howey test is, yeah, okay, that was the Orange Grove. They sold the Orange Grove in the sense of that if you didn't work the Orange Grove, they'd work it for you and make money. There was a promise that there would be some sort of future revenue. Digital asset, man, you're rolling the dice. You know what I mean? It's like you let it roll. You don't know if that sucker's going up, down, sideways, and it doesn't have largely a lot to do with whatever the organization running it is, which is usually private. Not a lot of them, they're having. Think of all the ones that have, had IPOs. I mean, none really.
That's exactly, and that's a good point. You go back to the Howey test. You think about the oranges. So the whole idea that they were selling certificates in the Orange Grove. You were getting ownership of the Orange Grove, and they would do the work for you. Like you just said, buying XRP does not entail you to any ownership and any stake in any company. So I didn't buy a part of Ripple, and I didn't buy XRP from Ripple. Now, the retail consumer of the oranges, or the store that wholesaled the oranges, that bought them on wholesale from the wholesale supplier, and then the retail consumer, they didn't purchase a security. So now, based on this whole, process and concept, the wholesale distributor of the oranges that went and bought the oranges from the orange grove would then be guilty of transacting an unregistered security and transferring that unregistered security for a profit to the retailer, who would then mark it up again and sell that unregistered security to the retail consumer for a profit. And that entire process would then somehow be linked back to this unregistered security. And then the SEC would say, hey, Howie, we're suing you. And we're going to, make it very difficult for you now to operate your orange grove. And by the way, retail consumer, you guys suck, because you're protesting that we're detrimental to his business and we're no longer allowing him to ship the oranges for your orange juice. Get the heck out of our face. Why are you guys protesting? You guys are no good. You're not nutritionally savvy enough to understand the benefit of oranges and the vitamin C that's in the oranges, or understanding the benefit, of buying those oranges or selling those oranges. That's exactly what the SEC is kind of saying about XRP and XRP investors. They came out and said, XRP investors, you guys aren't savvy enough to understand the technical aspect of XRP or the digital asset space. How dare they come out and say that? Who are they? Janet Yellen, 100% guarantee. I guarantee it. Let's say 99%. Guaranteed, she does not understand blockchain. She does not understand cryptocurrency. Guaranteed, right? 99%. I'll leave a 1% open for just in case. Portman, guarantee, does not understand cryptocurrency. That guy that we're just saying that Weber or Werner or whatever his name is, almost guaranteed that guy maybe has a inkling understanding of the cryptocurrency space, maybe about 5 or 10% understanding in the overall, because he read it from some notes and was very educated on asking the question, because he read the question. Maybe didn't understand the contextual aspect of it, but understood the question. I don't know. I mean, for him, but I look at the whole space. And then I look at Gensler, and the guy's MIT, used to teach at MIT, but does he really care, Chip? I mean, come on. I mean, it drives me crazy. It's just like, it's insane, the insanity of it. There is no clarity.
Jeff, it's all about being the enforcer, right? I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, and that Clayton was like, I hope we have enough. I mean, it was almost like a mirror image of what Gensler just said. I hope we have enough people to make this stick, because we're coming after you. He said it very subtly, but we hope there's enough people out there, accountants, attorneys, right? Because he wants to be the enforcer, wants to lay down the law. And there really is, they're not in the department of creating the legislation. That's the legislatures. That's the true. House and the Senate, true. And obviously signed through. But they pretend and masquerade that this is going to happen, Jeff. I start feeling like, what's that guy that's in Pulp Fiction about the watch? And I mean, I sound a little bit wonky there, but yeah, this whole thing is like, it's like, let's be the enforcer, let's lay down the law. But this something else that kind of came up. Now, this is why you have to look at politicians for what they are, dirtbags, right? So when Biden was running, what was the one thing he said? We're not taxing anybody under 400,000. It's not going to happen, and we might potentially. Well, I mean, okay, then it was under 200,000. We're not going to tax it. So what's buried in this bill, Jeff, outside of what we care about, which is cryptocurrency? Well, there is a tax. You know who the tax is on? If you drive an automobile. You know why? Because you got to mark the miles. And based on how many miles you travel, you are going to get taxed. And guess what, Jeff? That breaks that whole promise of anybody under 200,000. Anybody that's driving a car, you have broken that promise and you're levying a brand new tax. But Jeff, you know why they're doing this tax, right? It's got another agenda, because they want everybody to drive what? Electric cars by 2030 or some weird date like that, right? And I don't know. The whole thing is just getting weirder and weirder. When you have and somebody battled me on Twitter today. They're like, "But Chip, I've lost all faith in you," and blah blah blah. And I said, "Well, look, man, you don't call it an infrastructure bill if less than 8% goes to infrastructure. It's pretty simple. Call it what it is. It's a green new deal. It's green. It's green energy. It's this. It's that. It's hocus pocus. It's anything but. It's not I mean, and we come down to the crypto. If you're a politician and you're representing the people, man, I'm in Washington or I'm wherever I am, and you're a home country representing you. They go there. Why would you want more tax on the people you represent? Why would you throat punch them like that? It's like, right? So I mean, just on the premise of you go there, you're representing a group of people, and what do? You think of new ways to tax them. I'm sorry, that does not equate. You know, in order that doesn't live in a decentralized world. That's why I think at some point there will be the first government that will pull the trigger on a DAO. They will be decentralized, autonomous organization, better known as a government. And, you know, the way El Salvador is the first country to really rein in and take a look at Bitcoin as a currency, somebody's going to pull the trigger, man. Somebody's going to pull the trigger. Yeah, Missy, you're right. 99% of Congress doesn't understand blockchain. Regulation by enforcement at will. Yeah, but it's not even I mean, let's suppose they don't. Why would you try to figure out a bill that's not paid for at all, doesn't have anything to do with infrastructure, and then the last minute you're going to sit there and crush people who are largely investing for the first time in their lives, and they're not, you know, the mega rich or the mega elite or the the big institutional investors. That's what crypto has brought in. Crypto has brought people in and brought people together that never were interested in investing before. They're like, stocks, I don't know all that stuff. It's too complicated. Crypto, that's exciting. What do they want to do? Take the thumb and smash your face into the gravel and then rub it a few times. That's what they're doing, Jeff. Sorry, that's a little harsh.
Chip, let me tell you a little bit of a story. And I'll tell you my first gut instinct on this. So today was my son's birthday party. His birthday was this past week. But anyhow, we had his birthday party today. Great time. Did a bowling birthday. It was awesome. Nice. Accidentally, somehow, we left behind a little bag with 3 of his birthday cards with gifts in them. Right?
Oh, boy.
So we didn't even know they were on one of the other tables. All of a sudden, my wife gets a phone call, and I'm like, who is that? So one of the kids' dads, what happened? Said, no, it's somebody else that was having a birthday party next to us. And they reached out to us. They said, so how did you get the phone number? And she goes, I don't know. She must have asked the people at the event, this was left behind from the previous people. And he actually drove out of his way to go and meet up with me someplace. I met him up in front of a UPS store in the Publix Plaza. And like within 5 minutes, he met up with me. And I got, I was with my buddy and we're driving away. And instinctually, I immediately said, this guy is a conservative on the political spectrum. And I said, why? But what the guy said, I said, thank you. Could be libertarian, whatever, believes in decentralization, believes in freedom. And he said to me, I said, this is really awesome of you. Thank you very much. And he said, of course, he said, I wouldn't want the little guy to go without his gifts, that he got from the thing. I'm like, and I was like, holy cow, I was like, how amazing is this? Right. My friend is sitting there with me and he goes, that just put, my faith in humanity back in a little bit more. And I looked at, and I'm like, man, you could, I don't know what it is. Just a gut instinct. This guy was just amazing. The guy was outstanding, really, really cool guy, So,
well, Jeff, I got to tell you, but you see what happened though? You see where we're at in society? Something that should be an everyday occurrence is like, holy crap, that happened. I can't believe it. A random stranger who's happened to notice something, who went out of his way to contact, and then went out of his way to drive to you. That's like, wow, that happened, because that's the time we're living in right now. So, you sharing a story like that used to be like pretty much how the world used to work and how people used to go, and I heard a story today. It was like, and I almost couldn't believe it. I said, I have to Google this, because it said, it was just like one of these in passing. I'm listening to, I'm trying to find something on the radio on Sirius XM, and I happened to hit a news, like some sort of a news station. They said, and there was, and the woman drove by, she pulled up to a lemonade stand, 2 11-year-olds were there. She got out, she grabbed the bucket with their money in it, put it in the car and ran and took off. I'm like, who does that? I'm like, I mean, really? I have kids down my street were selling it, and we were all excited about it. I said, we'll get some on the way back. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, they took the last one, the car in front of you. Don't worry, come back in 10 minutes. So we did. We came back in 10 minutes. But Jeff, this is crazy. And they said it had a feel good ending because the police showed up. A couple of police cars showed up and they all got lemonade and the kids got their money, and it was kind of like a cool sort of a thing. But I mean, really, are we at that point right now where robbing kids, 11-year-old kids? I mean, of course, we're doing that in many, many ways, but I'm just talking about like on just pulling up their lemonade stand. This is insane, Jeff. So, yeah, I mean, this is where we're at in a world where, you know what, the good, decent people, this is how we conduct it. We conduct our lives, and we're not going to bend the knee. We are not going to bend the knee to oppression, to a government, to somebody else trying to put their finger on us. And it's like, hey, man, you must have mistaken me for someone else. I'm a decent human being who's providing for my family and is all about decentralization and freedom. And then you punch him in the throat. Just kidding, Jeff.
Yeah. Ellie is saying he's a conservative because he's a decent person. I think really the better part of the story is that there are people out there with humanity. I was shocked to see that, and amazing guy. Hey, so Chip, I want to put this up. This is Kathy Wood from ARK Investment, and she was talking about the infrastructure bill. Now, we don't have to get through the whole thing. The whole clip is like 43 minutes. We're not going to sit here and listen to 43 minutes worth. However, we are going to listen to her part, and she was singled out in this segment about cryptocurrency and the crypto part of the bill. And I think what she has falls right in line with what a lot of people are thinking. Let me play this real quick, and I want to get your feedback. And we might have to stop it in a few spots.
Yeah, go ahead. Feel free to stop it.
Would be from our point of view.
Turn the volume.
Now the vote, however, has been.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Hang on. See if you can hear it. Hopefully you can.
Hung up. It was supposed to take place on Thursday, but it was hung up, interestingly, by some controversy around crypto, how to pay for some of the infrastructure bill with taxes on cryptocurrencies and crypto assets. And we believe that behind the scenes, there's fierce lobbying taking place. We do believe that the financial services lobby is particularly strong and has the ear, especially after the crisis in 08, 09, has the ear of a lot of politicians. And so we believe that the tax that they're trying to enact here would really harm the evolution of DeFi, decentralized finance, which is based primarily on the Ethereum network.
No, we can skip that part. That's based. Yeah. She says a little bit more after this, but we'll get into that in a minute. But so what do you think so far? It's going to be extremely negative, extremely detrimental. It's a tax to help pay for the infrastructure bill. That's 110 billion. We know is 1.3 trillion, but they're talking about a $28 billion tax.
Well, yeah. So let me kind of round about that on a Twitter thread earlier today where I said, Rand Paul suggested an infrastructure bill. It was really to redo all the roads and some of the bridges, right? It was all paid for. It wasn't one of these things where it was actually paid for inside of a budget. And the same yahoos, the same knuckleheads on both sides said, oh, no, we don't want to do that. It was only 2 years ago. And this was a paid for bill. Now they rolled something out called an infrastructure bill. Less than 8% goes to it. But what I like about what she's on to here is the fact that imagine there's and this goes to show you why crypto has such an impact on the world. Normally, most people don't give two, F's about what's going on with it. They don't care one bit of what's going on. But all of a sudden, you see, this is that, I was going to tweet out that poem, they came for me, they came for the communists. I wasn't a communist. They came for but I wasn't this. And then they came for me, but there's nobody else to say something, right? I'm paraphrasing the poem, that came out of World War II. The point of it is the same thing is going on today. They went for the crypto. They went for this. They went for that. And guess what happens, Jeff, at some point? There's nobody left to stand up. But they're trying to pay for this goofy bill, which is just absolutely It's pathetic, right? And what the point that Kathy Wood is bringing up is the fact that the one thing that hung it up wasn't the 2,700 pages or whatever it was, wasn't the tax on people driving, wasn't there was less than 10% going to infrastructure. It was crypto. But why is that, Jeff? Why is that the one thing that had them hung up? Because they got hammered on Twitter. People hammered them. They blew up their phones, and they hadn't seen this stuff in a while, right? I mean, that's what I'm thinking, Jeff. Don't you think that's something to that effect?
That's exactly what it was, and it's just like the SEC has never seen anything like a backer of a asset class that they're targeting. They're going after XRP, they're going after Ripple, and they are targeting XRP, but they're really targeting the entire crypto space. The SEC has never seen anything like this, where they go after a company and supporters of the asset class come out in the thousands to tune in to every hearing, to every call, to the point where in the beginning they had them open mic and everyone was dropping all sorts of stuff and pissed off and XRP to the moon. And you guys are out of your minds, whatever it was, a lot of, unprofessional commentary in that environment that they're not used to. But now the Senate is beginning to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like people were marching in the streets of France in the thousands, right? The government is seeing the people come out and saying no more. So here we're seeing the same thing. So the government is like, hey, what the heck? Throw this bill in there. People won't even know. They won't even realize. No one's paying attention. Just cram it in there. The people aren't paying attention. Nobody's going to care like normal. Nobody normally cares about all the, chaos we sow. No. This time they were wrong, 100% wrong with it. Here's an astute person, Kathy Wood, that singled it out, just like so many others.
Well,
we're going to see something. Yeah, go ahead.
Watch this, Jeff. David Schwartz put this out. Sire, the peasants are revolting. Yes, I know. That's why I don't let them in the castle, right? It's like, yeah, we know, but you know what? Just keep them in check, right? I mean, that's kind of what happens. I love that he put this out yesterday. I read this and I'm like, yeah, the peasants are revolting. Call them peasants, the commoners, the little people. They're not happy about this whole thing. And oh boy, we don't want them to get too uppity because, well, in fact, they are the majority of everything. And, we have the minorities, tiny little minorities having the power, like it's been when you go back to the fiefdoms where the castles, and they would storm the castle, they close the gates, and then they starve them out for a little bit, and then it's business as usual. You want to continue plowing the fields? Yeah. Okay. You want to get a silver piece every once in a while?
Normal. Yeah.
All right. And this is what happens. But I don't see that happening now, man. People, you can only mess with people so long, Jeff, before they like revolt, right? And then Italy,
the same thing. Yeah.
Well, say in Italy, they were burning their cards, their V cards, right? They were putting them inside they had a little fire thing, and they were all burning them. They're like, "We're out, man. We're done."
Apparently, people like freedom, and they don't like the government overreach into their personal liberties, which includes their personal finance. You want to invest in something, don't encroach, don't tax me without representation. Now, taxation without representation is unconstitutional, and yet in many instances it's become the norm. We've allowed it to happen because taxation can come in many different forms, right? Taxation isn't just very, very clear 7% sales tax, 20, 30, 35% income tax. You've got, tax your tax on your property. You've got, every direction you look, there's all these taxes. What is the actual percentage of taxation that you're succumbing to? But then you have, what about inflation? Isn't inflation a mechanism of tax because your currency is now worth less? It's punishing you. But what if your inflation is due to improper economic policies of your government? What if the government is crushing your business? What happens when you lose your business? Isn't that a form of tax? Because now you don't have the same wealth creation vehicle that you had before because it was subjected to at the hands of somebody else at their whim. What about the idea that they're crushing a business sector? What if the government is picking and choosing winners and losers? Isn't that a form of taxation? Because now I'm not on the winner side. They've chose not to pick me. So now I'm going to lose. I'm losing my revenue. That's a taxation because it's subjected to by the whims of those that are in control and those that hold the purse strings and the strings of of legislation, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's crazy. It gets out of hand, completely out of hand.
I thought this was a good comment. Dusty says, "Hey, I suggest making this story into a musical. And as a twist, the people turn the tables and create their own court, and then try Jay, Vindy, and the SEC." Yeah, man. Who's going to be doing the singing though? The musical, it's a little bit. It's interesting though. We'll see.
So here's the other part. So Michael, oh no, sorry, Michael, wasn't your comment. I was trying to pull up, but la paix, la paix, la PE, la PE. I don't know.
Who knows?
La paix, la PE. So Sinema Portman Amendment is passed. Is this the end of day for XRP holders? I don't believe so. I don't think it's the end of day for cryptocurrency holders. And the reason why is because the tax is punitive to those in the US overall, not to the global stage. If the SEC rules that something's a security, but yet the rest of the world doesn't uphold that thought process, how is that a security? How is this, benefit or become detrimental to the asset class growth? Maybe it needs a little bit longer of a runway to get to where it is going to be going. Everything that the government does, everything that we do from a financial perspective also has to be looked in the long term, not necessarily in the short term. Governments think in decades, sometimes longer than decades. All their actions are way out there, and so if we think short term, but they're thinking long term, then all their short term policies or movements seem super detrimental to us. But we also have to think long term and see how it's going to play out over the long term. Now, the one thing that's missing in all of this is that this legislation from the Senate, although gets passed, it still has to go to the Congress. Now, the Congress in the US has $3.5 trillion in spending that they want to pack this into. So now we're talking about a, close to $5 trillion package. $5 trillion. Now, 3.5 trillion. Is this going to pass? Is it going to work out, or is it going to go back into who knows how long of a discussion? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of chaotic right now. I look at those that are in charge, and I don't even know if they can factor through this. I think a lot of things will end up getting dissected from it. If this isn't the end all be all, so it goes to Congress, they debate over it. The whole crypto thing might be wrenched out of it, might not even be there by the time this is all said and done.
Yeah, but Jeff, look at this. It comes down to this right here. Newton's third law states that for every action in nature, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Now, you've affectionately referred to this as the pendulum. But I think your assessment is spot on. When the pendulum goes one way and swings back with even more force. So you're starting to see this happen right now. So, the whole idea of this action is temporary. And the action is going to have some collateral damage. And whatever collateral damage this has or doesn't have, what they're doing is they're just saying, hey, people, leave the country. When they try to enact a tax or try to do something, we're going to tax people. People aren't stupid. They figure out ways, they loopholes. They figure out ways to get around it. You know how they do that? They get one of those passports from that one. We did that story about that young lady that was selling passports or not passports, but other citizenships. So you go to Portugal and you go like, all right, you lost my tax base forever because I left. I'm out. Chip is out. I'm bailed. So this is what happens. So what they try to do is, when the best times of the Treasury are, Jeff, with low taxes. You know who understands that? One party understands that. You know the other party understands? They don't understand facts or logic. And what happens is they go like, no, we got to raise taxes, raise taxes, raise taxes. You know what happens? Less money into the treasury. There's less money to spend around. There's less disposable income. And ultimately you have less money, period. And this is what they don't understand. It doesn't matter. Sounds good. Sounds fine, you know, and this is what happens. So that's why I wouldn't really worry. I don't really worry too much about this, because I think bigger things are on the horizon, and these are small things right now. And I don't think they really matter in the grand scheme, like you said, Jeff. But when the pendulum swings back, you better get out of the way, because it's coming with even more force. That's Jeff's amendment to Newton's third law. Okay, just saying.
It's definitely coming, and I'll tell you what, and many videos ago, and I might have brought this up, I referenced a concept called demophrenia, and demophrenia is the schizophrenic nature of democracy, where we're seeing it unfold in front of us. Now, this was written about a specific country, but the ideas and the concepts are everything that we're seeing today, where people will give up freedoms and liberties to the detriment of themselves, of their current existence, contrary to their belief systems, right? They'll embody these changes as though it's legitimate change to punish others, to limit their freedoms and control these individuals in order to protect them and society from a potential future threat based off of current or previous experience. So this book was referencing a lot of the threats stemming out of World War II. We can apply this exact same thing to what happened after 9/11. We can, and some of the policies and changes that took away certain personal liberties and freedoms. You walk into the airport, you have to go through security checks like you've never had to go through before 9/11, yet we're willing to do that to prevent some potential future threat and be completely in a reactionary mode. Now, that doesn't have a major impact on our existence. However, when you see these ideas that come and start becoming fermented into society, and people then adopt it and are then singling out other groups of people as causation of a problem and singling them out as detrimental to society, then you begin to enter into totalitarian thought and totalitarian action. And we're beginning to see those types of representations in society, which is shocking to me. Absolutely shocking. Now, the other part of that is that we're in this country that people are passionate about their freedoms, both individual and economic freedom. And that pendulum, although being pulled significantly over to one side right now, it's very fragile. And when it comes back the other way, all those people that are trapped here that think they're holding a power position will become collateral damage, and it's going to swing back and potentially swing maybe a little bit further than we want it to be. And then it's going to come back and balance out again, because there's a balancing in the pendulum, but it's a matter of time. And we've never seen in our history in the United States, we've never seen the extreme that it's being pulled in one direction. We've seen it in years and years and years ago, and it gets corrected. And those corrections can be very violent, but we're hoping that in this scenario, we don't have that kind. The correction is going to be political. The correction is going to be unbelievable economic growth once again, and as the crypto space really catches on ship. And this is where, we look through this, and I know we're kind of on the same side of it, but decentralization, people are embracing it. The other side is fighting it tooth and nail. They don't want you to succeed. They don't want you to succeed. Just like the real estate crash of 2008. Too many people were making money in real estate, and they wrenched it out of their control. They destroyed a lot of people.
Yeah,
They're
man.
trying to do it all over again.
Yeah, it's Bedlam. So, hey, John Gill, thank you for that massive support. Oh, yes, the governments are way out there. They think far ahead, ways to damage the people. Yep, and keep them in check, John. Very good comment. That's exactly what they do. They want to go ahead and they want to keep them down. They want to keep them in check. Like, oh, don't get too far out of your lane, buddy, because otherwise you'll get the big smackdown. So, I mean, you can only tax people for so long before it becomes, it becomes just pathetic. And I just want to say, look, man, thank you so much for your support. Everybody here tonight, really appreciate you guys. And just going to give a little wow action there for John Gill. Boom, a little wow action.
Support. Appreciate that support. Yeah, huge.
Yeah, and so, one of the things that, getting the week started off here, it's going to be a wild roller coaster of a week like they always are, but we're going to have a lot of fun. Jeff and I are going to be here to mini workshop it. We're going to dissect the stuff. We're going to jump in between. We're going to have opinions. Some are going to be popular and most aren't. And if they're not, keep it to yourself. I'm just kidding. But, what's that? No, it does not. It does not rule the other 139 countries. And guess what? The other 139 countries said, that's what they said. They said, we don't need you. We're out. We don't need you. We're done. So yeah, that's all.
Hey, just real quick, the Zuga coin, I think is in Zimbabwe, right? Or is it Zimbabwe or Nigeria? I can't remember, but they have a Zuga coin that's coming out. It's going to be, and it
was like a CBDC, right?
96,000 euro. Yeah, I was reading about that the other day. WTF is the coin.
They're going to make 100 of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, guys, we broadcast here 6 days a week, Sunday through Thursday from 8 to 9. And then Jeff's back on Saturday mornings from 8 to 9 a.m. So that's all we got for you, Jeff. Anything in closing words before we get out of here?
Tomorrow's another night. We have by far the smartest crypto, or smartest subscribers and followers in all of YouTube crypto space. And we appreciate all you guys. You guys are amazing. Love the commentary. Love the feedback. We also like critique. So if you're listening to us and you think you have a different opinion, throw it in there.
Yeah.
We'd love to dissect and discuss. It makes the event, the whole hour, even that much more fun. So appreciate all of you guys. You guys are amazing.
Exactly. That's all I got, Jeff.
We'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Looking forward to it, Chip.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Chip and Jeff out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.